Hello, and welcome to today's webinar as we discuss Salesforce for Nonprofits. My name is Daniel Dibble, and I am an account executive here at Ledview Partners for our nonprofits. Ledview Partners is a Salesforce Silver Consulting Partner and a Salesforce.org registered partner. We help organizations and foundations transform their approach to fundraising, marketing, and constituent management by aligning these teams to focus on improving their constituents' experience and providing management with metrics through technology to evaluate success. Today's webinar actually started out as a live event concept. Last month, Ledview Partners was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the CCB Tech Showcase, Wisconsin's largest IT event, as a platinum sponsor, and this was one of the sessions we presented. Since we know travel is tough, we wanted to bring this information directly from the CCB Tech Showcase to you via this webinar. Over 28,000 nonprofits of all sizes use Salesforce. Today we are presenting a solution built for the social and mobile era. Salesforce for Nonprofits will connect your entire nonprofit, your partners, supporters, employees, and programs so you can deliver better programs and services, engage and strengthen your community, communicate more effectively, and raise more resources. I would also encourage you to read our case study on Lift Foundation, a one-employee nonprofit who Ledview Partners assisted in becoming a connected nonprofit and raising $7,500 on their first fundraiser utilizing the Salesforce platform. You can find this case study by clicking on the link to the left of this video. Now, time to introduce our presenter, Andy Solari. Andy joins us from the Salesforce.org, and as I said, presented the same topic recently at the CCB Tech Showcase in Milwaukee. Andy, thanks for joining us today.
Great. Thank you very much, Daniel. As Daniel mentioned, my name is Andy Solari. I'm account executive here at Salesforce.org, and very excited to be here with you today to show you the connected nonprofit from Salesforce. I'll spend a few minutes to talk about some of the challenges facing nonprofits and the solutions and tools you can use to overcome these challenges and thrive as a connected nonprofit. To start things off, Salesforce is a publicly traded company, so we need to go with our safe harbor comment. Please make any purchasing decisions on what is currently available and not what is future releases. Just a quick background on Salesforce.com. Salesforce was founded in 1999, and over the last 16, 17 years has become the leader in CRM around the world. As you can see here, Salesforce also was named the most innovative company by Forbes. And the reason we show this is not just to brag. You know, Salesforce is a big company and a leader in the industry, but most importantly to show the innovation here. Salesforce has really grown and become so successful and won these innovation awards because we work with our customers. We find the needs they have and listen to what their goals are in the future, and we work to meet those needs and really innovate along with our customers. So really this is a thank you to the people we work with and the customers that have driven us to this success that we have. Salesforce.org, where I am a part of, was founded the same day Salesforce was, and is the nonprofit arm of Salesforce. Salesforce.org was founded for two real purposes. The first was to fulfill Salesforce's philanthropy mission, which was the 1-1-1 model. The idea was that Salesforce would donate 1% of company time, 1% of company equity, and 1% of company product back to the community to help out. And with that, you can see here, so every Salesforce employee at Salesforce.com or Salesforce.org gets 6 days a year off paid to volunteer. And so far, we've given over 1.1 million hours in service. Salesforce set aside 1% of its stock options, which have been turned into grants that are given back to nonprofits. And now Salesforce.org, any money we make off of sales of our products also go back to grants to nonprofits. And finally, technology. Salesforce wanted to dedicate 1% of technology to nonprofits, and we realized that the nonprofits were facing challenges, which we're going to discuss in a little bit. But hopefully we can help them by giving them technology. You would get your first 10 licenses for free and discounts on all of their Salesforce products in order to help nonprofits use the best technology to achieve their mission. So Salesforce began looking at the connected nonprofit when we saw the challenges that are facing nonprofits today. There's a number of these challenges. One of them is the connected world we're living in. As you can see on the screen, there's 5 billion smartphones by the end of next year and 4.5 billion social users. You need to communicate with people in a different way now. Your constituents are always on their phones, they're on social. You need to meet them at that level and communicate the best way to reach them if you want to be able to make a difference with them. Second one is greater competition. You can see up there that Americans took in 5 times as much information today as they did in 1986. So you are having greater competition for their attention. There's a lot more things coming at their time, distracting them in technology and media, and you need to go break through that noise and find something that matters to them and connect on that level with your constituents. Another statistic that isn't up there is that the amount of nonprofits in the first decade of the century, from 2001 to 2011, grew by 25%, whereas the amount of for-profits only grew by 0.5%. This also means that you have a lot greater competition for donor dollars, for volunteer time, and again, just for general awareness about your organization. And that ties into accountability and big data. It's not up there, but 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years. And when you think about this, it's both a great opportunity. There's all this data out there. If you can capture it, you can use it in a very meaningful way to communicate with your donors and your volunteers and the constituents you're serving. But at the same time, people expect a lot more because there is data available. They want to see where their donation went. They want to see the impact that was made in a data-driven way. So you need to be able to access that data in order to really show this and grow that relationship with your constituents. And what Salesforce found is that what most nonprofits were using wasn't working. They had legacy systems that didn't communicate with one another. They'd have a homegrown system in one place and Excel in another, and another product they purchased in another location to manage all the different aspects of their nonprofit, and none of them communicated with one another, and it really prevented them from getting the data they needed, getting the full picture of the constituent they're working with, and communicating with them in an effective way. So that led Salesforce to the Connected Nonprofit. And one of the first parts about Salesforce and about the Connected Nonprofit is that it's fully cloud-based, accessible from anywhere, and Salesforce is really one of the first cloud companies. So just some benefits you get from using the cloud, and Salesforce in particular, when the cloud is done right, like Salesforce does. So the first benefit is fast. There's no hardware to set up. There's no software to download or to install. It becomes a much easier way to get up and running. It's going to get you up and running quicker, less cost, and you're going to see a quicker ROI on your technology investment. Innovative is the second piece, second plus. You saw there that again, Forbes named Salesforce the most innovative company for the last 5 years. With the innovation, you get this constant innovation with Salesforce. Salesforce does 3 releases every year. These releases have hundreds of upgrades with them, and they happen automatically to every single user we have. So whether you're the largest nonprofit, like American Red Cross, or the smallest 1 or 2 person nonprofit, you're going to get those same upgrades every year, 3 times a year. Next is open. Salesforce is a completely open ecosystem, and that's going to give you some real benefits. The first is that it's completely mobile. You can access Salesforce from any device that has an internet connection, also fully mobile friendly for your Android or iPhones with the Salesforce One app. The additional part is it's API friendly. With the open ecosystem, you're able to tie in any other systems to Salesforce and have that data available there as well. Easy. Salesforce is a subscription model, and that's one of the things that leads to the innovation, is that we need to constantly win back your business every year. So Salesforce is always going to be working to innovate to meet your needs, so we continue to win back your business and have you renew your subscription each year. Along with that is customizations and add-ons to Salesforce. There's an app exchange available, which allows you, like you would for your Droid or your iPhone, download business apps that would extend your Salesforce and use them in different ways. And we'll talk about that a little bit more later. And finally is trusted. We understand that some people still have concerns about the cloud. All we would say is that trust is our #1 value here at Salesforce. It's our biggest priority. We have a whole website dedicated that you can check out. It's called trust.salesforce.com. We'll talk about all of our security measures, real-time up status, everything like that on the systems. But we also, if you do have concerns, just think that some of the largest banking institutions like Bank of America and Wells Fargo choose to use Salesforce, and nonprofits that work with highly sensitive information, like the Polaris Project that works with victims of human trafficking, all use Salesforce and trust Salesforce to house their data. Salesforce worked with consultants, with nonprofit customers, with donors, with board members to develop the Connected Nonprofit, as you can see here. And the idea behind the Connected Nonprofit is really the Salesforce Platform. Once you start using the Salesforce Platform, it's an open platform, and that becomes your system of record. As you can see, you can tie in other information. If you have spreadsheets or external systems, HR, Those can all be tied into that platform, and that platform will be where all your constituent data is stored. And once you have all that information in one place, you can start using it in meaningful ways to communicate and interact with your constituents. So going through just some of the examples of how this is used, one of the top priorities is fundraising. So Salesforce's fundraising platform, or fundraising part of the platform, gives you a way to communicate with your donors and volunteers. It's made for this new social world, so it allows you to tie in social and mobile fundraising into it, allows you to tie in all your volunteer management, so you can see differences between volunteers and donors and crossover between those, and allows you to track relationships between different donors, between households, between organizations they're either employed by or members of. Gives you a real full picture of your donors and ability to reach out to them in the way that's most relevant to your donors. And a great example of this is Project Open Hand, which is a local charity in San Francisco that was founded about 30 years ago in order to provide food, nutritious food, to those who were sick and elderly in the community. And over the last 25 to 30 years has grown hugely, and now has over 8,000 volunteers and 16,000 donors for their organization. Before using Salesforce, they were using Excel sheets. They didn't have any clear picture about their donors or volunteers. And now using Salesforce, they were able to have all their volunteer and donor information in one place. And by doing so, they realized that half of their donors are also volunteers. If you think about how you're going to communicate with someone who's a donor versus someone who's a volunteer versus someone who's both, they're very different ways of communicating with that person. And having that ability is extremely helpful for an organization like theirs. Another extremely important piece of the Connected Nonprofit is marketing. As we think about marketing, there's a lot of levels of it. But the most important kind of journey in marketing that we can have is something that's personal to us. You get that generic email or generic, whether it's a thank you for a donation or a generic outreach, it doesn't mean a whole lot. If you can have an email that's targeted to either a specific interest you have, a location, past donations, those all make that communication a lot more effective. And now again, you have all that information in one place about your donors or your volunteers or your constituents you're serving. You can start to use that data to reach out to them in a meaningful way around what is relevant to them. So that's only a piece of it, but also the Marketing Cloud also will tie in pieces of social. So if you want to monitor what's going on Facebook or Twitter or other social medias about your organizations or topics that are relevant to you, that can be tied in as well. So it's a way to really have a full email or full marketing communications around the social, around mobile, around email, and can be tied into direct mail as well. And a great example of this is DonorsChoose. DonorsChoose was established by New York City school teachers who realized that teachers often were paying for projects out of their own pocket. So it let them set up projects online, ask donors to donate to their projects, and then they would fund that project. By using the Marketing Cloud, they were able to make this very specific. So they were able to reach out to donors around specific either sports or STEM education programs or other relevant school things that matter to them they knew about, and also gave them the ability to follow up with those donors and thank them. So a donor would donate to a project, they get a thank you email from that project, not a generic thank you email, they get a specific thank you email showing the students that benefited from the project or the classroom that benefited. And if you think about the connection that makes with the donor getting a very specific thank you around specific project you donated to and seeing the impact that makes, your difference in getting generic thank you email. And you can see by using Marketing Cloud, they increased their donor conversions by over 300%. So it was extremely effective for them. But on the other side of things, mentioned the kind of social media monitoring, American Red Cross uses the Social Studio, which monitors social media around disasters. What they realized is that around natural disasters, people often take first to social media to talk about what's going on. By monitoring social media, they were able to see where supplies were needed, where there are emergencies happening around a specific disaster, put resources to those locations. And at the same time, they've realized that many people are getting information from social media as well, so they're able to post to all the social media outlets as well about where they can be providing services and where they can get help from the Red Cross. So again, a new way of kind of using social media that's extremely effective for their organization. Program management is an extremely important piece of any nonprofit. You need to be able to track the programs that you're your people are participating in, the impact of those programs on your constituents. And you also need to be able to serve your constituents. So 2 levels here really. Program management, Salesforce gives you the ability to manage all of your projects. You can manage either constituents and track the constituents you're serving, track the impact you're making with them, either demographic information or specific participation they have in your programs. You can also track larger programs, whether it's building houses or anything around that nature, in each step of the progress of that project as well. So a great example of that is Pencils of Promise, who builds schools in third world countries, and everything that they do is done on Salesforce. So all their projects, from the initial idea to build the school through the school's completion, is all tracked in Salesforce each step of the way. And what they're able to do is, for their donors, they can very easily show the impact that they're making by showing where these projects are, showing when they're completed for their donors, and all the information, all the data around that project, they can very easily put into a meaningful way to show their donors and their constituents. Also on that level is they also use the mobile functionality. Everything that's available in Salesforce is also available on their iPhone or Droid in the mobile app. So since they are traveling a lot in places where they don't always have internet connections, they can easily pull that information up, show it to the people they're meeting with on the mobile platform. But the other part of the program management is serving your constituents directly. If you run any sort of call center or any sort of help desk place for them to call into, email into, Salesforce can do that as well. And the beauty of this is that when a constituent calls in, you're able to see their full record from Salesforce. You can see any past interactions you've had with them. If they're a donor, you can see any sort of donor background, or a volunteer, any sort of volunteer background information. So it's a way to much more quickly find out, help your constituents by knowing back information about them and being able to service them in a very meaningful way. Another piece is engagement and community engagement with your constituents. Salesforce has created the Salesforce communities. And communities are a secure location where your constituents, again, donors, volunteers, or people you're serving, can log in and have information. It can be a place where donors can update their information. It can be a place where someone can download resources that you might have that could be helpful. But it can also be a place where they can live chat with a support person or ask questions and collaborate with other members within that community for help. So it's a really, really powerful tool that, again, is 100% secure, so only people have access that you want access to, but can have lots of useful information for the people you're working with there. And a great example of this is the IAVA, which is the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America. They are a new veterans organization that's emerged after the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. And what they realized is that the old VFW halls weren't really relevant anymore for today's veterans. They didn't want to go somewhere, there weren't anything close by. So they moved them online. They have these communities online that are veterans only, and within those communities they can find information. Companies that want to help hire veterans can post job postings there. Sports teams that want to give away free tickets can put that information there. There can be housing, they're looking for housing, there's services available through the community as well. But also they have live chat with people for suicide prevention. It's a crisis happening now that 22 veterans are killing themselves every day. But here they have a live chat ability within that secure location where a veteran can talk with a person and hopefully get help they need. So it's, again, a new take on kind of an old idea, but a very, very 21st century way of hopefully helping your constituents. Salesforce Analytics Cloud is a way, it's an enterprise level business intelligence tool. It's a way, if you have outside data or larger huge sets of data, whether it's government data or state data, that you also want to be able to manipulate and use. It's a way of doing that without having to have it all in Salesforce. So a great example of this is Project 8, which is a group of different organizations, including the United Nations and other world organizations, that are figuring out how we're going to deal with the world's population reaching 8 billion people in the next few years. And what they've been able to do is take, World Health Organization information, food information about food availability, climate information, and load it all into Salesforce Analytics Cloud, so they can then manipulate that data and come up with trends so they can help plan for, how much food is going to be needed in China to feed the population growth there, how much water is going to be needed in parts of Africa. And with that, can hopefully plan these trends and figure out ways that they can help the world kind of brace and meet this 8 billion population that's coming. And then the final piece is the platform. As we kind of discussed earlier, the key to the Salesforce is the Salesforce Platform. It is, as mentioned, open ecosystem. So what's nice about that is you can build your own apps within the Salesforce Platform, but you also have the App Exchange, which I mentioned earlier. There's over 2,400 apps on the App Exchange that are ways that you can extend your Salesforce, either bringing in outside systems of all sorts of all different natures. But with that as well, you can build your own apps, and over 4 million apps have been built on the Salesforce Platform for private companies, like Coca-Cola and Virgin America and companies like that. But a great nonprofit example is the city of Philadelphia. Philadelphia has run into some rough times over recent years, and their 311 system for their citizens to report problems or things in the community wasn't being very well utilized. And they realized that part of it was people just didn't want to call in. So by using Salesforce, they created a 311 app that allowed their citizens to report problems at any time. They could take a picture of graffiti or a broken playground, it would geo-tag it, and then they could send it in directly and create a case with the city. Emergency information, they could call in that as well, and police would have availability to these cases in the system. And by doing this, they found they had a lot more impact, a lot more citizens were participating, and they were able to make a big difference on their city by getting more people involved and helping with that. So you can see, once you begin using Salesforce and the Salesforce Platform, it can touch every part of your organization and ideally have it all in one place. You are able to really get that full 360-degree picture of your constituents you're working with and the best way to communicate with them and hopefully help them moving forward. So a little more information about Salesforce here. You can see that there's the Salesforce products we discussed, the different clouds, and the Salesforce Nonprofit Starter Pack is what makes Salesforce specific for nonprofit users. And then on top of that, these are the App Exchange things we discussed. If you like, example, Wealth Engine, if you were looking to find out information about donors' ability to give and wealth information, or Classy if you're looking for online donations and peer-to-peer fundraising. Again, they all have apps on the App Exchange that allow them to tie directly into Salesforce. And then working with a partner like LedgeView Partners to set your Salesforce up, customize it for your needs, and ensure your success moving forward with Salesforce. And the final slide here is, as Daniel mentioned, over 28,000 nonprofits use Salesforce today. Again, from the largest nonprofit down to the smallest 1 or 2 people per person nonprofit, and they're seeing great success with it. As you can see up on the screen, 84% said it's improved their ability to achieve their mission, and 91% would recommend it to another nonprofit. So really appreciate everyone taking the time to look at Salesforce Connected Nonprofit today, and any questions you have, please let us know.
All right, thanks, Andy. What a great thorough.
Oh, I apologize.
Oh, no worries. I was going to say, what a great and thorough insight into the benefits nonprofits can realize with this amazing solution and the great power of us pricing. For more information, please reach out to us through the website and click on the Contact Us to learn more about Salesforce for Nonprofits. Have a great day.